Hello and welcome to my channel, Silver Lining, where we look at being resilient in the face of storms in life. My name is Peter Abraham. I'm a registered nurse, and this video for this evening is just a update on a number of different areas. I did share in my last episode the Kentucky Board of Nursing did endorse my Pennsylvania registered nursing license. So I do have a license to practice in the state of Kentucky. This goes towards the journey my wife and I have been on. Starting Monday of this coming week, we will be officially, for all intended purposes, living in the great state of Kentucky, hence the Kentucky nursing license. Uh, I did finish my 11th book of the Hospice Nursing Excellence series, The Complete Hospice Visit. This book is mainly geared towards new hospice nurses, but can benefit experienced nurses as well. Mainly trying to look at what should be the component of a visit. I did share in my last video looking at nursing resources that when we're sent out there in the field to get a certain amount of training from orientation, but that's about 1 to maybe 2% of the training. The rest of it's live. Just like this video is live, no editing, most of the training is live. Here's a quick looks for eligibility. Here's the Gone From My Sight book. And yes, you shadow somebody for a day or two, every discipline over the course of a week, and then you're on your own. So the Complete Hospice Visit, which the Kindle version is available now on Amazon. I don't have an author copy yet to page through to show you. The paperback version is being reviewed and hopefully will be published between tomorrow and Sunday. Probably available by or before Monday if all goes well. So that's just looking at lessons I've learned over doing hospice for 6 years that wasn't taught to me as part of orientation. It's not the head-to-toe assessment. That's part of the picture. It's not getting the vitals. That's only a small part of the picture. But what are the key areas to look at? How do we reduce calls to triage? How do we increase patient satisfaction scores, which correlate to agency ratings and so on? All that's covered as part of that book. Again, the 11th part of the series. I am thankful to God for all the books that He allowed me to write this year. We're ending over 30 books published in 2024. So with that, I do have 3 books. We're not going to go over them in any type of detail, but 3 books for holistic nursing, motivational interviewing, how to help your patients be motivated, how to get them to motivate themselves to achieve their goals. Conflict resolution, which is unbelievably important, hospice and anywhere else, bedside, long-term care. How do you deal with the patients and families that are combative in a way that you're safe and your coworkers are safe, and at the end, you have a win-win situation. So that's covered by this book. And for those of you, I've worked with hundreds of loved ones with dementia, how to accurately stage them. We're not just talking the FAST scale for Alzheimer's disease, but Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, Huntington's disease, if they have a neurological disorder. How do we stage them and have an idea where they're at on their journey is covered. It's part of the Holistic series. Right now there's only 3 books in that series. I mentioned again some of the resources for the hospice nurses. There's now 11 books, but the 3 top sellers, the absolute #1 sellers, the compliance-based, eligibility-driven hospice documentation book, followed by care plans for hospice patients, closely followed by mastering hospice recertifications, keeping those who are eligible on service. You don't want to have them kicked off because you miss something in the documentation. That plus the documentation book is like your double-edged sword, your dual wielding for those who like action games. One of the books I'm most proud of, I wish would get up there on the seller's list, is Medication Reconciliation in Hospice Care. This does apply outside of hospice as well. But one of the lessons I learned when I first worked in the hospital, you go through nursing school and you're taught the value of medication reconciliation. When you're doing your hospital-based admissions, at least in cardiology and med-surg, you're checking boxes. This is what meds they're on. You're ensuring that they're not allergic to it, but you're not really doing a deep dive of, should they still be on that medication? Is there a better alternative? How do you communicate that with the pharmacist, the doctor, the patient, and the family? So this book handles that, as well as looking at what they're doing over in Europe, which I think is amazing. They use the start-stop method for medication reconciliation. They're ahead of America when it comes to keeping their citizens safe from medication errors. In America, we do have the Beers criteria, but that's mainly looking at what medications to stop, not necessarily what new ones to start. One of the books I'm hoping will take off this year, and it has been selling, is Hope in Practice. CMS has released the new requirement that has to be in place by October of this coming year, the Hope. And so this tells hospice agencies how to implement and get their staff moving on that. And for those of you who are like me, although currently unemployed, a case manager who's out there, whether it's admissions or case management or triage out in the field, mindful minutes, how time management principles can be applied to visiting nurses. Now, while this is geared towards hospice nurses, if you're in home health, this could benefit you as well. So that's it on the book front. The Complete Hospice Visit is getting published paperback. It's being reviewed. The Kindle version is already out there. Other updates. Talking about life lessons learned for this week. Oh my. This is never going to be about financial advice, tax advice, and consider this educational entertainment purposes only. For the entire channel, not just this segment. But a couple episodes ago, I shared a screenshot of my portfolio as I don't know if I want to use the word push, because I believe God works in mysterious ways, and what that hospice agency did allowed me to write books and has opened doors for me that I may not have walked through otherwise. So I don't want to look at it as a bad thing. And again, that's resilience, that's a snapping back. It's not just me. I'm hoping that you can benefit from what I'm sharing in terms of your examining your own way of thinking. But I published, here's my portfolio, and it's going to be generating a little over $43,000 annually, about $3,800 a month. I gave you the range, good months, bad months. And I didn't do my homework as well as I should have. And thankfully, these adjustments I'm talking about was before the stock market tanked on Powell's adjustments, for lack of better words. But one of the funds listed, ASGI, very high-end fund, was on a 5-day losing streak. Now, I am a long-term investor, so as I mentioned, 5 days, don't think, oh, wow, he's one of those that you buy and you sell on fear. But this one is one where I did buy on mistake and caught my mistake. Granted, I wish it was a lot sooner. So for those of you looking at different funds, the mistake I made is not looking at the composition of the fund's holdings deep enough to know that utility stocks comprise most of it. Armchair investor, think it's the income architect. Thank you for your input. But mainly utilities, and not the utility stocks are bad, but they're going through a tough time here. But the other major factor, and this is the main thing that caused me to end up selling that fund, is that when I did a deeper dive that I should have done before buying, is Fidelity has a tool to look at how our past distributions handled for tax purposes. This isn't a taxable account, so it matters. Not that it doesn't matter in other accounts, but matters more, at least for tax accounts. And 100% return on capital. Now, if any of you are investors watching this, there's good return on capital and there's bad return on capital. For my intended purposes, since I didn't know if I was going to be holding this stock longer than 5 or 10 years, if that return on capital puts its cost basis to zero and it's still tanking, like i.e. the net asset value is eroding, and I sell it at a loss from a tax purposes, it's actually going to sell for a gain. At least that's my understanding. And then I'm penalized twice. I have the loss and I have to pay taxes on what was just a gain that was false from their perspective. It was they were just returning the money that I put in. At least that's my take. So I ended up selling that. I did sell it at a loss. And part of being resilient is like, how do I turn? I love win-win, triple win if possible scenarios. So here, one of the things I'm doing for the joint taxable account, that portfolio, is I'm looking at a combination of growth to offset some of the losses, a lot of dividend generation. And so on the target list for me to sell is SPY. And while that is a wonderful growth fund, it does have a higher expense ratio. I only had 65 shares, and I prefer SPLG for my S&P 500 stock, at least for my purposes. I'm not telling you what to invest in. This is for me. So I looked at the current cost basis. I can't get out of that until June of next year, but I can use some of that money this week. We're moving, we're completing our move to Kentucky, and needed to have some cash available. And so if I actually take that short-term loss can offset short-term gains. And if you have enough short-term loss, then it'll offset long-term gains. So, hey, I could sell 5 shares of SPY and offset that loss in a way that's still tax beneficial. And on top of that, I have cash to go and pay somebody to have a fence installed. Wonderful. It works. Lesson learned. Don't repeat that mistake again. So I did go through a lot of rebalancing and adjusting. That at the end of the day, we're generating just a little bit above $40,000 a year, about $3,000 a month. Not where I would like, but it will work out. Last part of the updates is in our journey to move to Kentucky. I've been checking with local agencies, including local hospice agencies, what is their position on unvaccinated nurses. I don't want to run into the same roadblocks that I ran into for 2 separate agencies in Pennsylvania. And thankfully, the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of a local hospice agency in Kentucky, responded that the COVID vaccine is not required of their staff. The flu vaccine is encouraged but not required. And so it doesn't mean I'll get a job, but it's a go. Life is good. God is always good, no matter the storm that we're going through. So that's the update where we're at. Next week, week of Christmas, Kentucky. I am so glad for the new start. I am so glad for the new start. I wish and hope all of you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe, hit the like button. If you have any questions, whether it's like, how do I publish a book on Amazon? How do I format? I use Microsoft Word on Mac as well as Windows. How do I publish my books on Amazon? If you have any questions on the nursing books that I've written, or hospice or nursing questions that I might be able to answer. I've shared in previous videos, certainly don't know it all. But I believe nurses, as well as we as human beings, we should help one another, uplift one another, and encourage one another. So if you have questions, ask. What's the worst case? I don't know. Maybe I do know. Maybe I tell you something, you don't like it, you could throw it out. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But let's try to help one another and make this world a better place. Thank you for watching, and God bless.